What's up? It's Chris Reifert from Autopsy and a bunch of other shit. We'll see you at the Tampa Morgue.
What's up? This is Tony, and you're listening to the Tampa Morgue, episode number 49. And as always, I am joined by my co-host, Mr. Ed Webb. What is up, dude?
Mr. Anderson, what's going on, brother?
Just trying to write the ship, man. Just trying to get it right. It's been already a challenge tonight recording. But yeah, everyone, thanks for listening. We opened up the show with Disembowel from Autopsy off the Severed Survival album from Peaceful Records.
Fantastic record. Fantastic record.
Great record, 1989. We're going to have Chris Reifert joining us about 20, 25 minutes. We've been wanting to get Chris on for a long time, so it's definitely going to be a good show. We're excited about this one. We're also going to be joined by Diana from the Kilkim Festival that's taking place this weekend in Lithuania. It's Kilkim Festival 24. She's going to join us a little bit and talk about the festival. Ed, how is everything over in Tampa Bay?
Hot and rainy. I feel like I've been telling you that a lot lately, but it's hot and rainy. It's raining right now. It wasn't earlier, but I walked outside and I was like, it's like the sun's out, but it's raining. So that's fucking Florida. Have fun.
Here we are enjoying a Lithuanian summer. It is 73 Fahrenheit today, or as we say in Kaunas, Lithuania, 23 Celsius. But yeah, man, we do have a busy show tonight, so we're going to get to a few things. I do want to just mention a few things before we go here. I did see that Swarm Fest, which is taking place at the Brass Mug in Tampa on November 22nd through the 24th, announced that Nasty Savage will be playing. They're going to be announcing more bands throughout the week, actually through the next couple weeks. I know they have Druid Lord on that show, Sorcerer, and
bunch of
Pessimist. Yeah, a bunch of bands. They're going to keep on adding.
It's a good 3-day festival if you're in the Florida area, man. It's worth driving out because Swarm Fest always, he gets some killer bands, so it'll be definitely killer.
We played there. What year did we play there?
2016. And
that was what? Solstice, Incantation. It was a bunch of bands.
I don't remember Solstice, but I know Incantation. I looked at it earlier. We were talking about it, and I was like, man, I couldn't believe all these bands were actually on this show. But he brings in some big bands. So,
I think he's doing 30 bands, right? 30 bands in 3 days?
I think so.
Poor Nick. Better him than me. I mean,
that's right. Don't talk to me. Talk to Nick.
Yeah, exactly. I could not deal with that.
And then how about the OG lineup of Generic Christ is going to be playing out, too, in November?
Yes. We haven't played a show since, Ed, you want to, I know that
2015 is the last time the OG lineup with
this lineup, the Taste of Death lineup.
Yeah, me, you, Joe, Chris, and Guy. The last time we played out as a band was 2018 with Obituary and Pallbearer and Skeleton Witch. It was
Dust
in Orlando.
Bolt, I think, yeah.
Yeah, it was what is now known as the Conduit.
Which Pete Olin owns, and whoever didn't listen to our Pete Olin episode.
Yep. So, that will be very cool because I've been wanting to play a show. I've been wanting to do a show, Generic Christ, thing for a while. And with you being gone, it was kind of hopeless. But look at this. The fucking seas have parted and we're going to do it. So
I'm looking forward to it. It's been a while, man. It's definitely going to be cool to get back on stage.
It will be. And the set list is pretty fucking badass that we created. So, yeah.
Yeah, exciting times.
Even Bryce was like, holy shit. I showed him the updated what we came up with, and he was just like, fuck. So, yeah, I think it'll be killer.
Yeah, definitely. And anybody else who's going to be in the Tampa area this weekend, and Ed's probably going to be at this show, June 21st, we got Narcotic Wasteland is playing at the Brass Mug. We had Dallas Toller Wade on here about a couple weeks ago. And yeah, as always, guys, whoever hasn't listened to our show before and doesn't know, you could find all the back episodes. They're Spotify everywhere. We've had everyone from Bobby Gustafson on to Blaine Cook from The Accused, Vincent Crowley from Asheron,
Pat from Hellwitch. I mean, the list goes on and on and on.
Yeah, Paul from Master, Paul Speckman. We've had a bunch of guests. We've just tonight's our 49th episode, so we've been rolling. And also one more thing I want to mention before our guest joins us, because I think she's going to be here in a minute, is last week, right, Ed? We did the Tampa Screams episode.
Yes.
Okay, so whoever didn't listen, there's a horror convention going on in the Tampa Bay area at the Pinellas Park Performing Arts Center, June 28th and 29th. Tampa Bay Screams, and it's gonna. I think it's a 3-day event. No, 2-day event. 2 days.
Friday and Saturday.
Friday and Saturday. They have a bunch of guests there. We had last week. We had 3 guests last week on the show. April Hunter, Andy, and then Carmine from Joe's Toys. We had a bunch of people from the convention come on. They tell us about the convention and stuff, but it's that, like I said, Tampa Bay Screams, June 28th and 29th at the Pinellas Park Performing Arts Center.
And I saw today they just added one of the dudes from the Superman from.
I saw that today.
I can't remember what character name he played. I was trying to remember, but just seeing him was like, oh, cool, because I know he was a professional boxer too, and he's been in a couple of other movies. But because when I looked at the thing, I was like, oh, okay, some lot of B, actors. But I mean, this guy was in Superman, so
And
that's
they keep on adding guests too. Every day I look,
Mhm.
there's more guests coming on.
Yeah. So it's going to be pretty killer, and I will be there with the fam, so it'll be killer.
Yeah, Ed will be there, and we'll be there next year. I think actually, me and Ed will be out there. We would be out there this year. It's just we got kind of short notice and it just didn't line up. So but next year we'll definitely be out there. And I want to welcome to the show one of the organizers from the biggest extreme metal festival in the Baltics. It's taking place this weekend, actually, the Kilkim Festival, and I believe this is number 24. And we have a guest tonight. Introduce yourself, Diana.
Hi guys, I am Diana. I am one of the member of organizers of Kilkim Žaibu Festival. It's my 10th one, and as you mentioned before, it's the 24th edition of Kilkim Žaibu Festival. Maybe I can speak about it a bit like facts or something.
Yeah, give us some history. I did promise Diana that I would speak a little slower tonight because so she understands me. So, go ahead, Diana. Give us some history of the festival.
Let's start with the facts. What do we have today? So today we have 24th edition. Also, our audience is 5 to 7,000, and 40 to 50% of this audience are foreigners. So you guys are very welcome.
About as foreign as you get.
Do you know what summer solstice is?
Yes, I've been involved in that here. Yes. But can you explain it to some of our listeners? Because we have a lot of American listeners who probably don't know.
Yeah, so summer solstice is when the day is the longest and the nights are the shortest. So our festival is taking place during this period of time, making summer solstice the official date of Kilkim Žaibu. Everyone knows that. Everyone comes to party with us. Also, Fest has a rich lineup every year. I couldn't say anything bad about it. So we had before Sepultura, Venom, Abbott, Amon Amarth, Sodom, Vardruna, and many, many more others. We have the highest quality of sound, lights, and stages in general. Everyone who could come up the stage, everyone said it was great. So also we are giving opportunities to our local bands. By saying local, it's more like I'm referring to Baltic state bands, so we can show what they got during these years. Yeah, and that's it. I don't know.
We actually had Luctus on the show. We had Dovidus from Luctus, who's actually playing the festival this year.
Yeah.
They've played the festival in the past, and there's some other Lithuanian bands you can mention that are playing this year.
Oh yeah, it's my personal favorite. I'm sorry for all the other bands, but it's a Giga band. It's not very old band, but it's very promising. So if you will be able to listen to it, please do it.
And so you have also this year you have Moonspell, Rotting Christ, Jungle Rot, Butcher, Carpathian Forest, Night
Yes.
Slasher. I mean, I know there's a shitload of bands basically.
Yes.
And you've mentioned some of the bands you had in the past, and I've been to Kilkim a couple of years. I went to last year was Electric Wizard, I remember, and Sodom. It was a great festival. It's definitely there's a lot of stuff going around there too. And one thing that I wanted to talk to you about, you guys really do like the whole medieval folk bands are there, historical clubs for Lithuania, right? Blacksmiths. Can you explain some of that at all?
Yeah. I mentioned that ethnic Baltics, not just for fun. It really takes a big part of our festival. We have this craftsman yard where reconstructors clubs are gathering. They have their camp, so they are reconstructing Baltic tribes. You can not just see how they lived before, but also they can teach you some things like Baltic ribbon braiding and that stuff with metal and wood carving. They also are cooking there, so you can not only watch how they cook but also taste it. if they will be in a good mood.
Yeah,
And
there's some
we'll
great
share
food
it.
there too. There's a lot of good Lithuanian food there. A lot of good beer there. And you guys, and so it actually started in 1999. Was that the first Kilkim Festival?
Yeah, it was in Joniškis. I'm not sure if anyone knows where Joniškis is, but it was there around 10 years till 2009. After that, we moved to amazing place. It's called Varney. It is rich in a historical side because there were archaeological excavations nearby, and you should definitely come there and see that magic aura what has this place. There is a huge lake, very cozy and very quiet, and also it is surrounded by forest, by huge trees. So it has this symbiosis, let's say, of nature and anciency, if I can say that. So yeah, even if you just go and pass through it, you just have to go there and feel it, even though festival is not there anymore. Now we move to Ukmergė. Strategically, it's a better place because we have bigger cities around. So that means we have airports around, and bands can come much smoothly. Also, many people can come from bigger cities which are around, and even if the weather is terrible, you can come listen to the band and then go back home to sleep and come back next day. So
And you
yeah.
do have camping there too, right? There was a lot of tents and stuff. I know people stay there during the weekend.
Yeah. We have two kinds of camping. One is VIP with campers, UVs. I guess this
Yeah,
is how they're
yeah.
called. And the next one is the regular one with tents. Also in Ukmergė, there are some hotels and hostels. You can stay in there. So accommodation is quite okayish. It's better than it was in the previous locations.
And you may not know about this. I did see that this year you guys are doing something too with like a drink deposit for the cups too, like the I guess the beer cups.
Yeah, these are adorable. Some people are collecting them during the, I don't know how many years. We were the first festival who introduced this deposit system to the festival. So people who does that from the first year already has a big collection of them. And we are trying to make them the prettiest every year.
Nice, nice. And I'm gonna go over some I'll go over some. So it's obviously it's Friday, Saturday. So it's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Yeah,
It's
3 days
21st till the
and three
23rd.
nights of music.
3 days and 3 nights of music. So you can tell me if I'm incorrect on any of this. It's so if you want to go for one day, it's $50, but you do a $100 deposit, and then when you leave before noon the next day, you get the other 50 back, right? So it's $100 deposit, or basically
It's
$50.
euros, but yes, you are correct in
Okay,
euros.
euros, yes.
Yes,
And then sorry about that. And then it's for so €100 for the full ticket for the weekend.
yes,
And if you have a
absolutely.
family, it's €190 for the family ticket. And is that like so? The family ticket is that pretty much you have like 3 kids, you could bring 3 kids and your
Yes,
wife, or
yes, absolutely. That's correct.
okay. And I was looking at some of the other bands that played there. It was really impressive. You guys have had like Triptychon, Enthroned, Asphyx, which I remember Asphyx was it last year or the year before that? I
It
can't
was
remember.
last year. Yes, it
Last
was
year it
last
was
year.
Destroyer 666, Exhumed, Horna, Gospel Horns, Impaled Nazarene. Just a really impressive lineup you guys have had through the years. And like you said, it's been going on since 1999. I think I've been to 4 of them now. So I also would, off the top, well, kind of in the topic, but so when COVID came, did that really fuck you guys up? Like that kind of messed up the program a little bit, right?
Well, yeah, as we have booked the flights, accommodation for bands, and etc., some of these things were cancelled, but not the whole festival. We had the smaller version, not in June, but in August. As I remember, it's from August 6th till 8th, something like this. I cannot remember the date. But yeah, we had. Special passes you had to show at the entrance. if you want to come, you have to or have this COVID test that you don't have COVID, or you have to be vaccinated, and you have to show the proof. It was
The digital phone ones, right? That we were all
yes.
using.
Yeah. Also, we had the testing place in the festival area. So if somehow you didn't see the information that you have to have proof that you don't have COVID or you are vaccinated, you can go and check yourself in this place and then come to the festival area. Also, we had only we were allowed to have, I guess, 1,500 people. I don't remember clearly, but it wasn't a big amount. We couldn't have that full festival. Also, some bands couldn't come because flights were canceled, and
Yeah.
some countries didn't let their citizens in or out, etc. Yeah.
And I want to ask, how did you get involved? Like from the beginning, how did you, are you a metal fan growing up, and just how did you get involved with the festival itself?
Well, I was a metalhead girly in my 15th or 17th, as a teenager, okay? And me and my friends went to Kilkim Žaibu when it was in Varney. So I kind of liked it. I mean, I didn't like all of the genres, but it was fun. We had a lot of metalhead guys there, and come on, what do you need as a teenager? You want to see beautiful people, you want to listen to music. Okay, so a few years passed. I came back from UK as I lived there, and I thought I want to do something fun and different. And I saw that they are looking for volunteers. I decided I will fill it up and see how it goes. So my 20th birthday was in the volunteering that period. It was the first day. And this year we are gathering tomorrow, and it's my 30th
Oh, happy
birthday
birthday! Happy birthday, then.
yeah, it's 10 years. We have amazing team. They value you. They will help you. They will do anything if you really need the help. Also, you do the same for other people. If you're too tired or too hungry or anything, they will take care of you. And also, you do that the same thing for other volunteers.
One thing I did notice too about the festival is everyone's having a good time. It's like it just seems like the vibe is very positive there. I've been to, me and Ed are obviously from the States, and Ed's played a bunch of festivals. He's in Monstrosity, but when I go to that festival, Kilkim, it's just the vibe is really good. Like you said, there's a mixture of different kind of bands, and even the food's good. I mean, everything. It's definitely a great setup. And so personally, what kind of like band wise, what's your kind of like? You like death metal? Is it black metal, or is it like you personally? What's your thing?
Oh, I like something different, what I could never list, like what I couldn't find in the internet. Like it's not a black metal genre or death metal. It's something absolutely different. It may be psychedelic, avant-garde, or anything what sounds differently. So I'm more into this side of the festival.
Okay, and who's your like favorite band that you've seen there? Like if there was like a band that you've seen so far that really, like you guys, like I said, you guys had Venom there. You've had Electric Wizard. You guys have had some big acts there. What was one of the ones that really you looked forward to watching the most?
Well, I've missed the concert of my life because I liked Amon Amarth a lot, and I couldn't come at this festival, so I just missed it. But speaking about what I did see, it was Finn. Korpiklani. It was Korpiklani. I was in love with them as a teenager, and it was a great opportunity not only to see them on stage, but also put wristbands on their hands so you can get really close to musicians.
There you go. Yeah, I can imagine. Yes,
Do I
and you
sound
got
like creep?
no, it's totally cool. So on Fridays, you go. Is all the doors the same time? Is there? So Friday it opens up at.
Friday it open. Actually, let's say officially we open at I just at 15 o'clock. As I remember, at 15. I'm not sure. I'm so sorry.
Oh, it's okay. Is it open the same time pretty much all weekend, or is it?
Oh well, for many many years, gates worked 24/7, so you can come and go whenever you like. This year, we've decided that we will not be there all night because there's just no people, and we are wasting the energy of our volunteers. So this year, we will be there. Obviously, in the Friday morning, like from 8 o'clock until 3 a.m. And every day from 8 o'clock in the morning to 3 o'clock at night.
Okay, awesome. Is there a webpage people can go to check out the details for Kilkim? Which I know you have an English option on there, which I was checking out.
Yes, we have. It's Kilkim Žaibu. Should I say it by...
Yeah, probably if you could, spell it for everybody if you could.
Okay, I'll try. It's KILKIMZAIBU.com.
Okay, and so like I said, it's a great festival. I've been there, had a great time. Looking forward to Carpathian Farce is playing Saturday, which I've never seen them, so looking forward to that. I think they go on at midnight, if I'm correct. But we really appreciate you coming on too. Any year you guys want to promote, you just let us know. We're over. I'm over in Conus most of the year, so we can always promote the festival for you guys, and we appreciate everything. And I really appreciate you coming on, Diana. Anything else you want to tell us? Anything else that you didn't get to tell us that you want to tell us about the festival?
No, I just wanted to ask you, Tony.
Yes.
What did you like the most? What is different about Kilkim than the other festivals?
I really like the whole, you got the guys on the armor and the swords running around last time I was there, and the whole, there was I think there was sword throwing, and just a lot of cool, for me being from New Jersey originally in Florida, we don't have all that at our festivals, and the food even just it's weird when I went to Kilkim, I felt like it was a celebration of Lithuania too in a lot of ways. You definitely feel the cultural thing going on, which is very cool. And the prices aren't bad for a festival for what you're getting. I mean, for me, it's awesome. Like I've said, I think I've been like 3 times now or 4 times possibly, and it's a great time. And I think everybody, especially the local band, even the Lithuanian bands are really impressive here. Like some people don't know about them outside of here. And then we had Luctus on, we had the guys or Crypts of Despair, and there's some really great bands here that people don't know about. And you do see a lot of Lithuanian artists at Kilkim too, which is awesome. So and I know this year there's a handful of Lithuanian artists there too. So, but like I said, it's definitely a cool festival. And we appreciate you coming on, and it's June 21st till the 23rd, right?
Yes.
One day ticket, €50 for the weekend, €100. Family package for €190, which is actually a good deal. And Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, Kilkim number 24, and and we really appreciate you coming on, and we will promote the show, and we'll say goodbye. And thanks a lot, Diana. Anything else you want to add?
I'm cool. Guys, just come over and check the vibe. We will have Viking football. We will have Moonspell and many great bands. Just come and check. Just come.
I remember that football thing you're talking about. Yes. Yeah, everybody, Kilkim Festival this weekend, June 21st till 23rd, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Check it out, Kilkim number 24. You can get information from us if you need to. Just message us on Instagram. We'll give you some info, or check out the webpage that Diana told you all about. Diana, thanks again.
Thank you a lot.
Okay, we're going to get Chris all set up. While we're doing that, we're going to play some more music, actually. We opened up the show, like I said, with Autopsy and Disembowel. Now we're going to play another one of Chris's bands. We're going to play Violation Wound. We're going to play something from the 2019 album, Dying to Live, Living to Die, that was put out on Peaceville Records. And this track is called Off With His Head. And we'll be back on the Tampa Morgue after this track. And that was Off With His Head, off the 2019 album Dying to Live, Living to Die. And we are joined by Chris Reifert. Chris, man, how you doing?
Pretty good considering I ate half a bowl of Little Debbie Swiss roll cereal.
This was the conversation we were having before we went live today. It was, the breakfast cereal world. We were saying how Captain Crunch and shit used to tear up your mouth and everything, man. That was the thing back Saturday mornings, though. You got in front of the TV and you just ate a bunch of sugar.
Oh yeah, and stare at the back of the box.
Yeah,
when you had real teeth.
Exactly.
I still have mine so far. Knock on wood.
Me too. Here.
I don't know about after today though.
Yeah, and actually we started out, like I said, the show playing some, we're going to talk about your history and stuff. But first, I am going to ask you, since we started out the show, it's Violation Wound, man. What's going on with Violation Wound?
Nothing right now. Sadly, doesn't mean we won't do something again later. But we did a show at the beginning of 2020, and then all the crazy stuff happened. And then, we didn't do anything for a while. And then Matt, our drummer, had a baby, and Big Joe, our bass player, ended up moving up north a little bit. And so everyone's doing adult stuff, unfortunately, right now. But hopefully we'll get to do some more stuff later because it's a lot of fun.
And you guys got busy, right? When you guys started up 2013 and you guys started rolling, and just like everything else, actually, with most of your bands, you guys just kept on putting out material. I know, obviously, actually, me and Ed put out the Flesh Reaper 7-inch with you guys.
Yeah, that was a lot. I was actually looking at that last night. Yeah,
that was definitely, for us, that was definitely cool, man. And we'll talk about all that stuff, but the first thing I want to start out the show with was something we were kind of hitting at before we started. Ed was witness to this, right, Ed? So I'll let you actually talk about what was it, Maryland Death Fest, which I believe it was May 28th, 2022, the day of this event.
It was, yeah. We played the day before, which was a killer day, and we had the free reign of the next day of the Edison lot, which sadly they got rid of this year. Thought it was weird, but so I was checking out Cavalera played, or Sepul, whatever they were doing, called. Max has got 100 different names for his bands, but it was a killer day. And then I think Autopsy, you guys were supposed to actually headline, but whatever the Triptychon / I forget the other name of his other band, I think he was running late or something, so they switched you guys out.
Yeah, they asked us if we were okay with that, the organizers of the fest, and we were totally okay with that. Yeah, it was fine.
The crowd was huge regardless of what time you played. The crowd wasn't getting any bigger at night. It was definitely a big crowd at that festival. But yeah, while you guys were playing, I was standing like in the side of the crowd, and then I noticed the huger crowd was forming in the middle, and I thought it was a pit until I witnessed. I don't know if you saw it from the stage, but yeah, there were some sexual acts going on in the middle of your show. That's the first thing.
We didn't know anything was going on until afterwards, and then our friend Erica called. My wife Nancy was like, "Hey, won't believe what just happened." Yeah, I've seen footage of it since. I've seen even the very up close version.
Yes.
Chris, was there a tampon string involved, man?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it actually grazed the guy's nose and forehead and everything.
Yeah, it was something else. It's just the fact that I've seen a lot of things over the years. I'm sure you have too. That one was a first for me, because when we walked over to see what was going on and we caught it, I was like, all right, I don't know what else can you say? That was a different. You guys brought out something in somebody. I don't know.
That was funny because that was all people wanted to ask us about for months after that. And then we played Portland a little after that. And then I guess some guy thought he was going to top that. And next thing we heard, some guy got kicked out for taking a shit in the pit while we were playing. Which we didn't, I don't know. We didn't see.
That's a little different.
Yeah, a little different. But, all I can say is we provide the soundtrack, and whatever people want to do is up to them. And, you just go for it.
Yeah.
Different strokes for different folks.
Your set was definitely fucking brutal that night. That day.
Thank you. That's all we care about,
Yeah. I think everybody sounded great out there. But you guys, the second day was weird because the first day, when you play, it's a blur. So, but I think you guys played after the Max thing, right? if I remember
Shit,
right.
I think so. I don't even know.
I
Yeah,
mean,
but
it was all blur, but
yeah,
yeah, you guys definitely. We were Lee Harrison was. We were laughing. I mean, I've never seen any. Just yeah, that just to me it was funny, and having you on, I just thought, I never heard you talk about it, so I just wanted to see what you had to say.
And that's
yeah,
how we start the show.
yeah. We provide the soundtrack, and then people can do what they want.
That's right. Yeah. So okay, so it can only go what, down from here, up from here. What do they say? But yeah. So
Both.
yeah. So Chris, we want to get into obviously your background and stuff and the bands you've done and all this stuff. So I first want to start out. I think I have this right. You were born in, was it Contra Costa in
Yeah, that's the
'69?
town. Yeah, a little town I like to call Concord.
Concord. Okay. And one thing, and I like I said, I was doing a little bit of studying on you, and I saw like, which I mean, me and Ed could probably totally relate with. So Saturday mornings, you're watching cartoons and stuff like that. We're all into this. It was like a thing that when you grow up in those days, I don't even know if kids do it anymore. But I'm figuring like 77, 78, right? CBS or NBC. You're watching like what, like the Fanatics or like the Popeye Hour. What I mean, there was
All of
so
it.
much. Yeah, there was
Any
so much.
anything. Yeah, any and all cartoons. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hanna-Barbera, baby.
Oh, you know it. All day, every day.
I think Fat Albert was around back then too. I think those in the '70s, But and so you started doing that. We've all been there, and you're also listening to like these. I guess they're like the Disney records, right? In '78 and stuff. The what is it? The See Hear Reads little records that you would get. They had the Looney Tunes records and stuff. And is this the first time you actually started like listening to? Because I know, they had what. God, the Wizard of Oz. Ed, you remember these, right? All those little
Oh
soundtrack
yeah, I
records.
remember all those. Yeah.
Yeah.
And,
Oh yeah.
and Chris,
They were
this
on
was
little
like
7 inches.
yeah, little 7 inches, and you were listening to these at a young age too, weren't you?
Yeah, and my parents, whatever was in the house, like whatever my parents had, they had like, it was pretty cool. They were kind of, I don't know. They had like everything from the Beatles to Beethoven to Bo Diddley and all the bees in the house, and they would let me play with the turntable when I was a little kid. So I was listening to those and my Disney records all at the same time. So it was a pretty well rounded experience.
In '78, you were watching Saturday morning cartoons, and you were introduced to like the basically what the Ace Frehley, like the solo Kiss records, which
Oh
I'm going
yeah,
to ask you
I knew
which
where
the
this was
best.
going right away. Oh yeah, that
Yeah,
commercial came on TV, and I think I'd only seen like pictures of Kiss in like 16 magazine or something like that. Didn't know anything about it, and that commercial came on, and it's like, oh my god, I need to know more about this.
and I have to ask the solo albums, right? It was basically Ace's. I thought Ace had the best solo album, and then probably Paul next, and after that, it was. What was your opinion on that?
My opinion is if there was like a knife at my throat, I would say Ace is the best, Paul's second best, Gene is third best, and Peters is last. But I
Yeah.
still like them all.
Yeah, so and so, yeah, there was that was '78, and then your first
Yeah.
Kiss record, right, was Rock and Roll Over.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. Totally.
Yeah, and which I mean, I know that basically that first track off there, is I Want You, which is totally mine was Destroyer, but I mean, still like that Rock and Roll Over. I remember as a kid hearing that, and for you, that had a pretty big impact on you.
Oh, it fucked me. I can curse on this, right?
Oh yeah, you can do whatever you want, yeah, man.
All right. Yeah. I know it fucked me up, man. I put on the first song, I Want You, and it started off with the acoustic intro, and it's all soft and like, oh, this is cool. And then the electric guitar came in, and dude, seriously, I know it sounds goofy now. We've all heard all those horrifying death metal and all these things, but that transition from the acoustic into the electric, I wasn't ready for that. I seriously had to take the needle off the turntable and assess life for like 30 seconds. It's like, oh my God. I wasn't ready for it. It's super nuts. But then I put it back on, and then I listened to the whole record, and it's still a favorite to this day. But yeah, I'd never heard anything like that before. You can't really explain it to some probably a younger person now. They just laugh at you. But seriously, it was totally insane.
And that was like Phantom of the not Phantom. What was it? The movie they made
Oh, Kiss Meets the Phantom.
Kiss Meets the Phantom. Yeah.
Oh, that
I
movie
mean,
sucks.
That was rough, man.
It was rough, but I remember somebody was, turning the dial, and it happened to be on the TV, and you're seeing these dudes in these costumes at an early age, and you're like, and then they start playing the music, and I remember putting two and two together. I'm like, oh shit, that's the dude from the commercials. Like, and then you start realizing that that's who they are, and it was weird. I mean,
Oh,
the movie sucked for sure, but
it's great now to watch. I remember when it first came on, I was anticipating it because I saw there was commercials for it and like TV guide ads and all those things. So it was all this anticipation. Oh, I got a Kiss poster in the background even, but yeah, and then it came on, and even as a little kid, I must have been 9 when it came on. I was like, "Oh my god, this is terrible! All this anticipation in this movie is just total bullshit." But then, as an adult, you watch it, you're like, "This is so bad, it actually rules," you know?
I think Ace's voice wasn't even in it. I think they were like,
No, it was Peters.
oh, Peters.
Yeah, they I don't know if it was like Casey Kasem or something, but it was not Peters' talking voice, which just makes it even more amazing.
And your first record was you picked up at Kmart. It was the Ace record.
Yeah. It was Kmart because I didn't know what record stores were yet. It was like, like Safeway, the grocery store, they had a little record section, and like Kmart had a little record section. I hadn't been to record stores yet. So just wherever I could, before that, it was just like the library or something, like check out records and stuff. So yeah, but that was Kmart. Yep.
Yeah, we all had the Kmarts up in Jersey too. Did you pretty much know right away you wanted to be in a band when you started listening to Kiss?
No, I never knew I wanted to be in a band. It just happened. I wasn't like ever like, I'm going to be in a band someday. It just happened,
So at age of 9, you start playing the bass drum, right? For what's it, the Blue Devils marching band?
Yeah, that was probably around then. Yeah, just in a marching band with the uniform and the hat and all that. We did like a march through, I think it was like Marine World or something, like an amusement park. And I was just thinking, oh man, I want to be on the rides. And I'm just going boom, 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 walking around instead. But yeah, it didn't last too long, but at least it was something musical, I guess.
And then then you go like basically for like all of us, you go to AC/DC, right, and Sabbath and stuff like that. And does that really start changing like your whole because back it's kind of overwhelming when you first start hearing those bands as a kid.
Well, yeah, but I mean, you can only encounter and absorb so much. It's not like the internet where you can see and hear everything you could possibly think of in a 30-second span. It's like you had to like do some detective work. But yeah, it was just one thing led to the other. It was like Kiss, and then Aeros. Like your buddies in school tell you about stuff. Like, oh, you need to check out Aerosmith and Cheap Trick and AC/DC, and so like that. And then go on to like Alice Cooper and Black Sabbath, and then next thing you know, Motorhead and Iron Maiden, and the escalation of the heavy.
What was the first gig you ever attended?
Oh, it was this band actually out of Florida called Free Fair. They played our middle school. They did this thing. I don't think I've ever told anyone about this before. They did this like assembly thing at lunch where they played a couple songs. It was this band. There was even a poster in the school saying like from Florida. Like it was this huge selling point. We're like, oh, okay, cool. And yeah, they did this assembly thing where they did these dumb little like skits and stuff, but then they would play songs, like actual like metal songs. It was super weird. Turns out I actually did some research on them recently, and there was some weird like Christian collective unit. So I think they had just sort of like different people doing it in different places. It was super bizarre. But they had a concert that night for $5. This was 1982. And of course, I had to see it, and I went, and they actually played covers of like Saxon. I remember them playing Princess of the Night, and I'd never heard that before. And that's how I discovered Saxon. Actually, I was like, oh, this fucking song is super cool. I don't remember what else they played. A bunch of like hard rock and like sort of pseudo metal covers and stuff like that. It was in its own weird way. It was really cool. And then. The first actual real legit concert I went to was the next year in '83, and that was Iron Maiden, Saxon, and Fastway. And that was
nice.
that's one to brag about, you know?
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah.
What was your first Kiss show?
Oh shit. I didn't ever see them as a kid. I always wanted to. Um, I didn't know how concerts worked, you know, back then. You know, I thought it was just something that came around every month or something, and of course that wasn't true. But the first time I saw them was when they reformed in like 90, is that 96 or
Yeah.
97 or whatever. It was with all the originals, you know, so that was killer.
Oh
That
yeah,
but
they were
that
doing that Kiss
I'm,
convention or something like that during that time period, right? I think with all the original guys.
yeah, I mean, I just know it was all the originals. It was great, you know. I've seen them probably like 5 or 6 times now, but only once with the original lineup.
Nice. And then so basically you're listening to all that stuff. And then you found a record store that had imports in it, a record exchange.
Mm, damn, dude, you know your stuff.
Thanks, man.
Yeah,
Hey,
yeah, yeah. The record exchange, that was great. Someone told me about it. You know, a neighborhood friend or whatever, and they actually had like imports and demos, and that was a mind blower, man. You know, I probably was like, 14, I guess. You know, eight. It must have been 83, something like that. And you know, I started buying like import records and stuff like that whenever I could. You know, would get a few bucks.
and your dad. So when you start playing drums, your first kit, right? So I'll let you like. So your dad takes you to a flea market basically, and that's your
Yeah,
first kit.
yeah, yeah. It wasn't even my idea. There was some guy was selling a drum set. You know, it's this little like sparkly orange, weird little set. And the guy was asking $100, and my dad talked him down to $65. So I got a $65 drum kit.
Do you
And
still have the kit by any chance?
no, I don't. I don't know where it went. I'd probably traded or sold it to a friend or something like that.
Do you remember the first time you actually set it up and sat behind it? Was it kind of like pretty overwhelming, or did you feel comfortable right away?
Oh, I don't remember what it felt like, but it was great to have a kit, you know, because before that I only had like a snare drum or a drum pad, you know, so it was actually more than one thing to bang on. This is great.
Yeah, and you said your big thing is you want to do drum rolls, right? I had read, and
Yeah,
and you were actually getting drum lessons from a kid named Danny Leffler, who was a jazz
yeah,
bass player.
yeah. I had drum lessons for a couple months or so, um, and he was great. I'm pretty sure he was a high school student, you know, who I thought was this like professional man of the world, you know, because he knew how to play drums and stuff. But yeah, it was great, and that yeah, before I could even play a beat, I wanted to play rolls because they sounded cool, you know. And he was the one that told me, now you got to learn how to play a rhythm first. I remember being disappointed. I was like, oh, really? But now I get it. You know, it's like, okay, you got to learn to walk before you can run, or you got to learn to, stay upright on a skateboard before you can do tricks and shit.
What's crazy too is he probably has no idea what he created. Like he's, if he doesn't know what you've done with your career since then, it's probably the effect he had on you. It's pretty wild.
All I do now is if I met him, I would apologize.
Yeah, then you start what? You start playing the records too, as you kind of like move on to get lessons and then move on to just playing along with stuff.
Yeah, I only got lessons for a couple months because he moved away, so that was it. And then I had like one other drum lesson. Um, I went to some music store, and there was a guy giving drum lessons, and I brought in Iron Maiden Number of the Beast, and I was like, I want to learn how to play this. And he actually put it on the turntable, and he couldn't figure it out. He just walked away and left me all alone. And I sat there for like a half an hour, and then he came back, and he was like, yeah, lesson's over. That was it. So then it was on me to figure out what to do. So I just kind of like fooled around at home and put on headphones. I'd listen to records that I thought I could maybe play along with, and that was actually great. I would put on some of the records I would listen to is like, Twisted Sister, The Kinks, what else? Shit. Um,
Like Metallica, probably like everybody at that age. I think we're all.
yeah, Metallica a little bit later, and that was I think that was probably what made me want to learn how to play fast. Was like trying to learn how to play like Whiplash or something like that, and actually figured it out without anyone showing me, just from listening. So playing along with records, man, that was huge.
Nice. And so the first band wasn't really a band, right? But the first group of guys you were jamming with was Guillotine.
Yeah, it was just me and one other guy, and I think we wrote like 2 songs together. We didn't know how to be a band. You know how it is when you first start trying to be in a band. You don't know what you're doing. You're just like, oh, let's play loud and like make riffs and stuff. So we did that probably for like a few months, maybe, or something. Like it just didn't materialize into anything. But it was still it was good to just sort of like get an introduction to what it's like to try to be in a band.
Yeah, and what 84 you actually get basically in a band, right? Now, did you form? So it's Burn Offering. Was it you and Dean Sharp at first? Were you guys the first members of that band?
No, they those guys they already had an existing band, and I met them um just in the neighborhood, and they asked me if I wanted to join the band. I said yeah.
Okay, and is that so? That the first song you ever wrote was with them? Was that Death and Violence off the '88 demo? Was that the first song you actually ever wrote yourself?
Yeah, I actually wrote that. I could play guitar enough to write that. Yeah. So yeah, that was the first one.
Then you guys did the Frightmare demo, and that was recorded on a 4-track recorder at a friend's house named Dean Rossi in the
Yeah, he
backyard.
was he was actually another high school student. He had like a little back house with a actual recording studio in it, with like an actual like mixing room and the whole thing. I remember
Well,
I remember we showed up like way too early, and we could hardly get him to do anything. I think he was super hungover, but yeah, we actually managed to get in there and record some stuff.
and so your first gig was this. So the first gig for the band was you were 16, right? It was at Ruthie's.
Yeah, we played there 3 times.
And some of the shows you guys played, so you guys played with Death Angel, Blind Illusion, Part Time Christians, and you guys played with and plus you saw a lot of crazy shows there. I heard you mention.
Oh yeah, yeah. Ruthie's was it was like a um you know infamous little dump club that had killer shows. You go see like Slayer and Exodus for $5 and stuff like that, and you
Did you see
know.
Wasp there before their first album came out?
No,
No
I
way.
saw Wasp at a place called the Stone in San Francisco. They didn't have. I don't think they had anything out yet.
Wow.
But they were already headlining clubs. They already had like the whole stage show, the fire and the blood and all that, and um, totally blew my mind.
No, so and you guys released what the demo? Now that was re-released again. That demo for Burn Offering.
No, it was never. We only just made some cassettes. Like we never really sold it, or I don't know. We just ran off a few and like gave them to people or something like that. It was never like a professional thing. We just like recorded it and made a Xerox cover and probably ran off a few copies. And I know we got a couple of copies in the record exchange. So we did. They actually. I don't know if they sold them or not, but we gave them to them.
Yeah, that was a cool time period, right? Because you would go to those record stores and they would sell demos at the counters. A lot of those
Yeah. Oh
places.
yeah. Yeah. And then all the other bootleg items.
And is that the same time period you also played? You did a couple of shows with a band called Desecration. You were playing with. Is that the
That
same time period?
Desecration was between Death and Autopsy.
Okay, so it's between that time period. Okay, so
Yeah.
you leave Burn Offering at 17. Was there a reason you left, or was it just
No, I would have been 16. No, they all I know is one day they just replaced me and the singer with other people, and that was it. It's like, okay, well, all right, we'll do something else. you know. So and then the death thing happened, so it worked out okay.
Yeah, I know, and I know you've told the story a lot, and we're going to have to ask you for the people who haven't heard it. But can you wanted? I know you had heard about Chuck from one of your friends who had run a college or a high school radio metal show, correct?
Yeah. Well, I already knew about death though from like fanzines and stuff like that. I'd already got like the first at least first 2 demos and the live at Ruby's tape too.
So you heard the Mantis stuff, the Death by
Yeah,
Metal.
yeah. Death My Metal and Infernal Death and the live at Ruby's. So I knew those already.
And what she had told you that there was a guy named Chuck looking for bandmates, and did you not believe it was him at first, or
No, I mean, who would believe that? I was like,
yeah?
really? Okay, it must be some other person named Chuck with another band called Death. I was like, there's no way. And so, but I got the phone number and I went home and I called it up and it was actually him. I was really surprised.
And now when he went by you, he had already went to Canada to work with Slaughter.
Yeah, he'd already been there and back and had a brief San Francisco lineup and was looking to start fresh. And that's where I jumped into the picture.
When you first started talking to him, were you said you were kind of worried because you were 17 at this time, and Chuck was like 19.
Yeah, well, I thought he was going to tell me to like go fuck off, kid. So I had to confess. I'm like, hey, just so you know, I'm 17. Is that going to be a problem? And that's when he was like, oh, I'm 19. No big deal. So yeah, it was totally fine. But I name dropped some stuff to try and get his attention. I was like, yeah, I like Sodom. I like Creator and Artillery and whatever, Bathory, whatever. I was trying to be impressive, and I guess it worked.
Now, did he already have another lineup in at one time before you joined in San Francisco with the guy from DRI on drums, Eric?
Yeah, they did the Back from the Dead demo,
Okay.
which is pretty sick. It's the only Death release with blast beats all over it that you'll ever hear. So yeah, he did that. I don't think it lasted too long. He didn't really talk about that. Like when I was in the band, he didn't really talk about previous lineups or anything like that. It was always just like eyes on the future and the present.
And this time period, so people who obviously, whereas some listeners are probably a lot younger than us, like there wasn't a lot of like when you guys first formed the band, you guys couldn't find band members at first.
No, we never did. We tried so hard. Well, I don't know how hard we tried. We tried a little bit, but it was, death metal was strictly in the Bay Area. Over here, it was music for losers and weirdos. It was extremely unfashionable. Extremely.
Yeah, I think and you were into by this time. Were you already into the punk music too? Because I know like you're influenced by punk and metal. Were you already listening to the punk, or were you pretty much still into the metal? Just
I liked anything that was aggressive and distorted and fast. So I mean, like when I first started getting into underground metal, I was also just anything aggressive. Like at the same time I was buying like Raven and Accept albums, I was buying 7 inches from like Black Flag and Dead Kennedys, and just whatever I could find that was not nice. You know what I mean?
yeah, and you got like like I said, you and Chuck, and there was obviously everybody knows on the album cover is the John Hand photo on there, and that was so he joined after that whole album was done, right, written and everything. I know he
Yeah.
didn't play on it.
No, it was like an idea that we thought would work. Like we already did the album, and we're like, hey, our buddy John's he's going to be in the band and it's going to work out great, and it didn't. But the problem was we told Combat specifically, who put out Scream Bloody Gore, to state that Chuck played all the guitars on the album, and they ignored our request. So it led to a lot of confusion. I guess they probably wanted it to look like it was a full band when it on paper wasn't. It was just like two kids. So they just like made up their own mind and did it how they did it, and we still get questions, or I still get questions about it to this day. It was very confusing.
Has anybody ever walked up to with a copy of Scream Bloody Gore with signed by John in front of you?
No, not so far.
No. Yeah, so I mean, like, and you guys are jamming at Chuck's. You guys are jamming at your mom's house, right, during this time period when Chuck's at San Fran.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah, and so the stuff you have a lot of those songs were already written. Half of the songs were already written on the old demos, correct?
Yeah. I don't know, like I don't know the percentage, but probably about half. So like, a good handful I already knew how to play before I ever played them, just from listening to them a million times. So it was great. It was like one of those things where you're a fan and then you get to play the stuff you're a fan of.
I know you guys jamming with DiGiorgio too at that time, right? A little bit.
No, that was later. That was after the album had been done. We were hanging out with the guys from Sadus a lot, just like buddies. And we had this idea to play a local show, and we were going to have Steve play bass, and he actually learned the whole set. We jammed with him a couple times or a few times, and being the virtuoso that he is, he learned the whole set in probably like an hour. I remember Chuck showing him a song like, okay, here's Infernal Death, okay, got it. Here's Zombie Ritual, okay, got it. Like that. And then, but before we could actually book a show, Chuck had moved back to Florida. He was supposed to go back for a family visit, and then it turned into a permanent stay.
And you didn't like Florida, right? Like you had been to Florida and you didn't want to live there. It was like a little too.
It's not that I didn't like it, but I mean, I
It's
just
hot as shit.
oh god, yeah, it was brutal. But there was that, but
And those palmetto bugs. Whoever hasn't seen those things are like the giant roaches.
yeah, I mean that's I could live with a lot of things, but honestly, this is just like over here is what I know. I can't see moving somewhere else. Not because I have anything against it other places, but this is what I know. So this is where I am still.
But you did go to Florida to record, right? Your mom, you got your drums sent down on a Greyhound and actually went and recorded. And for people who don't realize, like when you with Chuck, you guys were like best friends back then. Like,
oh yeah, it was us against the world. We were a tight little team.
yeah, you guys. So, what was the story with the Nikki Six poster?
Oh, oh man, yeah. Well, we're staying at I was staying at Chuck's house for the summer of '86 under the premise of recording the album, and we had a lot of time to kill before my drums arrived because they got sent by bus. So it was like a good couple weeks or so with nothing to do. So this is not really, like newsworthy or anything, but you do goofy things to pass the time. And um, we got this poster of Nikki Six out of like Circus or Hit Parader, and Chuck taped it on his dresser or whatever, and he started picking boogers and wiping it on Nikki's face, and then I followed suit, and it got pretty gnarly, and eventually his mom found it and threw it away, and one day Nikki was gone, and we were super bummed out.
Yeah. And you guys, and actually you recorded Scream Bloody Gore in Florida, and the label hated it.
Yeah, they were right. It was terrible.
Really? So then they sent you guys to Los Angeles to record it again.
They did. Yeah, they sent two teenagers unsupervised to the belly of the beast, got us a hotel, and we just showed up. I don't even know how we got to the hotel, man. It wasn't like we showed up and there was a limo or a station wagon or anything waiting for us. I don't remember what we did. We just got off the plane and made our way to this hotel somehow. It's a bit of a mystery now.
Did they give you some cash and you got to go out and just do whatever you wanted to do? That's
Fuck
pretty crazy.
no, they didn't give us any. No, we did. I think the first thing we did was go to 7-Eleven and get 7-Eleven hamburgers to eat, and they were super awful. It was like that.
And you guys, when you were in Florida, you guys were like basically renting a lot of horror movies and shit like that too. With Albertsons, which me and Ed know, Albertsons from living in Florida.
Yeah. They had a video rental section in the local Albertsons, and actually had a good horror section. So we spent a lot of hours watching, handful of movies over and over and over, just many times.
And I have to ask you because I remember back when I was a kid reading interviews with you and stuff, and you guys used Ed Repka for the Scream Bloody Gore cover. Did you guys have any say in the artwork, or was that pretty much like you just tell them the name of the album and Repka did it for you guys, or did Chuck kind of actually say, "Hey, this is what I want"?
No, we had no say. We actually had a friend of ours named Tad who actually ended up drumming for Toxic. He drew a cover that we really liked at the time, and the label rejected it, and they just gave us the cover that everyone knows now. We didn't even see it until it came out when we got our copies in the mail, and then it was like, oh, here's your cover. We had no say. We didn't know what it was going to be. Nothing. I remember being disappointed because I was like, there's no gore in this cover, and it's called Scream Bloody Gore.
I was going to say, were you a Repka fan back then or no?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't remember feeling one way or the other about his stuff. It was just, he was like one of many artists doing many albums at the time, but now it's like a classic cover and all that stuff. But yeah, we didn't have any say or anything like that. It was just, we got our copies in the mail and there it was.
And I think isn't Scream Bloody Gore, that's the only record you got that's not done at Morrisound by Death, I believe.
Yeah, you're probably right about that. Come to think of it.
And back then you weren't back when you're younger. I mean, I'm sure now you probably have a totally different outlook, but you weren't a fan of the Morrisound recordings.
No, I mean, it was, I know I bagged on those a lot, but the thing was I just felt like they all sounded the same, and so I mean, but I love a lot of albums that came out of there. So, but it's not something that I wanted to do because I just wanted to not sound like everybody else.
You never went there, right? You've never
No,
recorded
never
there.
been.
And, yeah, and you guys, they also, the label held 2 tracks off the record too, right? The was it Land of No Return and
Yeah,
Beyond
and
the Holy Grave?
Grave. Yeah, again, not our. We had no, we had no say in anything. That was like the label just did what they wanted to do.
Oh, so you guys turned over all the tracks and they're just like, hey, we're going to remove these off of here, and this is pretty much the way it's going to
Yeah,
go.
yeah. We didn't have any say in anything. They ruled the land.
Wow. And what something I didn't realize actually is that Scream Bloody Gore made the Billboard 200, 100 at 174. It was actually the only death album to hit the charts. I had no idea about this actually until I had read it in
I
the
didn't
book.
either until just now.
There you go. See, we all learned something in here in the Tampa Morgue. Yeah. So, and you and Chuck stayed friends after you left, right? Because you actually stayed with him in '88, and you guys still had a relationship, but that you just pretty much started your own. Obviously decided to stay in Cali.
Yeah, no, we were never not friends. Like we went through. Actually, God, I did go visit him again in like '88 or so, and then Death came around and toured over here, or they went through here in San Francisco, maybe Oakland. I can't remember where it was they played. It might have been San Francisco, on either the Human or Individual Thought Patterns tour. One of those, I can't remember, but we went and like hung out and watched the show and you know hung out together and stuff like that. And then after that, I think I didn't. We had a very long lapse where we just didn't communicate, and it wasn't because we didn't like each other. It was just parallel lives or whatever you want to call it. And then it wasn't until 2000 that I talked to him again, and he was already really sick at that point. But it was nice to reconnect one last time.
And yeah, and I know, like I said, I know you guys had a really strong. Everything I've ever heard is that you guys were friends before anything else, pretty much back then.
Yeah, no, we were super tight, man. It was a good time.
And you go to '87 and DiGiorgio, right? He actually knows you're looking for a band, and he recommends you to Eric Cutler, who
Yeah,
actually lives near you.
yes. Eric and Steve were friends from school and whatnot. And I was looking for a gig, and Steve was like, "Oh, you should talk to my friend Eric. You guys probably hit it off. And yeah, he was right.
So, and actually, this is so Autopsy. The name comes from, so it's a newspaper article you guys are reading about it, which actually ties into Danny coming, who's in the band eventually too. So the
Yeah,
name is actually is taken from a murder in a newspaper.
yeah. It's there's some kind of weird inbreeding stuff going on. Danny actually, when he was younger, was in a band with Eric's older brother Don in probably like the '70s or something like that. And Eric was like a little kid, and didn't really know Danny yet. Um, so there was that. So Danny already knew like Eric's family, kind of. But then when Eric and I started the band, we were not reading a newspaper because we didn't do that. But I remember there was a newspaper sitting out in Eric's house, and on the top of the paper was an article about someone getting bludgeoned to death. And of course, that caught our attention. We're like, "Oh, we better read about this."
That'd be
And
great.
it was a story about the band that Danny was in at the time, called Bloodbath, and their roadie murdered their manager with a lead pipe to the head. It was all drugs and just a bad thing. And so, but then there was a thing in the article about an autopsy being pending, and we were like, oh, there's our band name. We were looking for a band name, couldn't find it, and there it was. And that was before we really knew Danny. Had definitely not met Danny, and we didn't know we were going to be in a band with him later. So it was kind of a weird thing.
And who did the logo for Autopsy? The one that we all
The
know.
very first one on the first demo, I did that, and then our buddy John Chandler did, I think, all of the other ones after that, or most of them.
And what was the actual first Autopsy show?
First show was at a place called Vogue Lanes, which was an abandoned bowling alley that a friend of ours, his family owned it, I think.
Because like back then, right? You guys were playing like basically friends' houses, like pretty much wherever you guys can jam at.
Yeah, we didn't have like a jam room or anything like that. So just whoever, if someone's folks left town for the weekend or whatever, we would like crash their living room and set up and play, and there would probably be a house party to go along with it, and that's how we did the band for the first, God, all the way up until Mental Funeral.
And the first demo you guys did in '87, that was as a 3-piece.
Yeah,
And that was recorded. So Critical Madness was recorded at the same place that Mutilation was done at.
yeah, both the two Autopsy demos were in the same place where Mutilation was done, and another weird parallel right down the street from Danny's house before we knew Danny.
And you guys, and at that time you had Eric Egard, right? He was the bass player at that time.
Yeah, Igard, yeah.
Igard, and you guys, and then you got another one. He left after that, after the Critical demo.
No, he was only around for the first demo, and then he kind of just lost interest and kind of just like quit showing up,
So then you go to '89. You guys enter Starlight Sound in Richmond, California, to do Severed Survival, and that was so you guys did what was it 5 songs of those were off the first 2 demos, and then
Yeah, I don't know. I'd have to look at it. I don't, off the top of my head, I'm not sure, but we did everything off the first 2 demos except for Mauled to Death and Human Genocide, which were actually re-recorded later. But yeah, we did everything else, and then a couple more songs to fill it out.
you guys were given a $5,000 budget, and you guys spent half of it on weed.
Yeah.
Well, Chris, when was the first? Do you remember the first time you actually smoked?
Yeah. I mean, I do. I was 16 years old. That's when I started doing all the grown-up things too soon.
So you guys spent half the budget on that, and and on that one, you and Eric wrote pretty much all the material on that, because when Danny joined, was it already pretty much the material was done?
Yeah, he wasn't writing yet. He didn't write till the Fiend for Blood EP, and then he wrote his first song for the band then.
Yeah, and you guys you guys had Steve play bass, obviously, on Severed Survival.
Yeah.
And you guys also you have a great relationship with Steve, right? Because he's been on obviously he's been on several of your releases.
Yeah, Steve's great. I actually just bumped into him at Milwaukee Metal Fest a little while ago. I hadn't seen him for 1,000 years, so it was a cool little reunion.
And you guys also then you guys Peaceville. That basically that relationship starts also.
Yeah, we signed with Peaceville in 1988, and we're still on it.
And when you guys first joined with Peaceville, you guys were actually doing like a lot of promotion for yourselves, weren't you? Like when you guys put out that first record, you guys were like mailing out flyers and stuff, because it was basically like a smaller, they were just getting started also.
Yeah, they formed in 1987 along with us, and they started off as kind of like a little like punk and crust label. I don't know if we were the first metal band on the label, but we were like pretty early on. But we just figured anything we could do to help get it out there, we'll do. So I actually made like my own little flyers for the album, and drew them up and Xeroxed them and cut them out and like sent them out to people. The Peaceville didn't ask for that. I just figured, might as well like do what I can to get people to know about it. So I took it upon myself to advertise as well.
And with Severed Survival, I actually just heard this story recently, which is pretty crazy. The sound on that record, right? That was kind of by mistake, because of like basically you had a pedal from Chuck, and you guys were using a PV bass amp, and that basically created the sound for Several Survival.
Oh, the guitar sound. Yeah. Well, I know Danny had his Marshall, which he still has, head and all that. And Eric at the time, for some reason, did not have an amp. He had his Red Explorer guitar, but no amp. And so I had a PV single speaker amp that used to be my dad's, that he used to play acoustic guitar through. He had like an electric acoustic. It was like a 12-inch speaker, and he gave it to me for what I guess he wasn't using it anymore. And I had Chuck's Orange Boss distortion pedal, because when he moved back to Florida, he left it here. And I even told him, I called him, I was like, hey, you left your pedal here. should I send it back to you or something? And he was like, no, don't worry about it. So I just held on to it, and we used that distortion pedal through the single speaker PV amp, and that was Eric's sound. So that was, it wasn't an accident, but it was all we had, so luckily it turned out cool.
And so, and what is the story with the two covers? I know you guys used Kev Walker on one for the censored one, right, and Ken Matthew on the other one. What was you guys released it, and did you guys start getting backlash, or why did you guys change the cover?
The first one was the guy with the hooks ripping him apart. That was by Kent Matthew, and it was peaceful. They had like a couple of distributors wouldn't put it out because they thought it was too brutal at the time, which now is like, it's pretty goofy. Think about it now, but at that time I guess it was outrageous, or at least enough to where a couple of distributors wouldn't touch it. And so Peaceville thought, oh, let's do a different cover, and then everyone will put it out. And that's what we thought about that. And we're just like, oh, cool, 2 covers, yeah, let's do it, man. So we were totally receptive to the idea, and Peaceville got Kev Walker to do the second one, and we love that one. So now we have 2 covers that we like.
And the black and white photo inside is actually Tom Araya from Slayer. Inside.
The Critical Madness picture.
Yeah,
that was just a picture that our friend John, who did our logo, just drew for no reason. And yeah, that was, if you look at the picture on the back of Rain and Blood, it is Tom Araya, but with like his brain popping out of his head. John just drew it just for fun, and we just like kept it. And that was actually our first t-shirt. We made shirts of that. We probably made like 10 of them or something like that. I still have mine.
Probably worth about a couple $1,000 now on eBay, I'm sure, Chris.
I don't know if I ever I'll sell it, but so far
you know how that goes. And now going into 90, you guys played Milwaukee Metal Fest, and that was that because you guys, you toured with Pestilence that year, Bolt Thrower and Morgoth.
No, Milwaukee Metal Fest, that was 89.
89?
Yeah, that was our first airplane show. And then the next year is when we started actually touring.
So it was 89. Okay. And how was your first? How did you get the experience at Milwaukee?
Oh, it was killer, man. It was awesome. It was a trip because we just played Milwaukee Metal Fest a few weeks ago in the same building, so it was like this weird flashback. That place is 3 stories. First, second, and third floor each have a different stage. The first time we played in 89, we played on the top floor, and this time we played on the middle floor. It was actually much better. We went and watched Overkill on the top floor, and the place is so big and boomy. The sound is not meant for metal up there, so the sound was rough, even though they were fantastic. But yeah, we played the middle stage, and it was killer. Playing it the first time was badass, man. That was our first time actually getting in an airplane to play a show, and it was a great lineup. The place, there was like, I don't know, we were told 1,500 people, which at the time that was a lot for us.
I was going to ask you, was that the biggest crowd you had played for until that time?
Absolutely, yeah, for sure. Before that we played, like parties and an old bowling alley and a couple of club shows. Nothing too crazy. So yeah, that was a big one.
And you mentioned the tour. So that was your first tour in 90 with Morgoth and Bolt Thrower and Pestilence? The European tour?
That was our first tour, yeah.
Okay. And you guys did a split with Paradise Lost in 91, and then you guys did a six-way split, didn't you? With Peaceville. It was like Dark Throne and My Dying Bride. I forget who else. Impale was in there. I think it was Baphomet was on that also. Then you guys put out Retribution for the Dead EP. And that was the first. So that was the first recording with Steve, right? Cutler on bass, Eric's brother.
How did he? Yeah.
So was that was he a permanent member? Like, was he helping out, or was he kind of figured he was going to be in the band?
No, he was in the band. Yeah, for sure. I mean, we needed somebody, and Eric was like, "Hey, my brother is a guitar player, but he can play bass." And I said, "All right, let's give it a go." And yeah, he was in the band for the second European tour, and then the Retribution EP, and then Mental Funeral too.
And he did so. And for the artwork on that, it was Rob Moore who did the artwork, the guy who he played with the guitars for Sadus.
Yeah.
On the Retribution, okay. And you guys recorded that at Different Fur. That was your first time there? at that
Yes, yeah,
studio?
it was cool, man.
Yeah, and here's something that I don't know if this is true or not, but I had heard that on that in the grip of winter, you actually use a Residence guitar chord. You could kind of like throw in some stuff on that from the Residence, which I know you're a fan of that band to begin with.
Yeah, well, oh yeah, I love the Resonance. Yeah, that's how we ended up going to Different Fur to begin with, is because on their records, they would say recorded at Different Fur Studio. So I had this brilliant idea, like, let's find out where Different Fur is and record there, because the Resonance recorded there, and we did it, and yeah, there's a riff in the Grip of Winter where I blatantly stole a Resonance riff, if you want to call it, off their album Eskimo, and I hope I don't get sued now that I'm saying this publicly.
If so, we can remove it if you want, man. It's all
No, no,
good.
yeah, they're not going to sue me. But I rearranged a couple of the notes to where it was a little bit different. But if you listen to that album and you listen carefully, you will hear it. You'll be like, son of a bitch, he did totally lift that and just mutated it enough to where I won't get in trouble.
Nah, statute of limitations is done on that.
Oh, is that right? Oh, thank God. Okay.
Well, Residents have they have so many albums out. I mean, they got to
Oh
have
yeah,
like
I love.
27, 28 records out.
Yeah, I don't even know. I don't know how many, but they're one of my favorites. They're right up there.
And they got a huge discography.
Oh
And
yeah.
you also with Different Fur. So that was kind of like, was that so when you were going there? Did you know you were going to do Mental Funeral there, or your experience with the Retribution for the Dead kind of sold you on doing the Mental Funeral record there also?
Yeah, we never thought about what was the next thing. We was always focusing on the present, much like today. We don't think too far about the future. We're just like, all right, let's practice for the show coming up or this album or whatever. It was same thing, but we liked it over there, so we figured when it was time to do a new album, we'll just go back there again.
You guys were doing a lot of live stuff that time, right? You guys done what, 2 European tours? You guys hadn't done the US yet, correct?
No, not like a U.S. tour or anything like that. We've done shows in the Bay Area, like Milwaukee. We played Buffalo, New York, and we did like Detroit, some things like that. But uh, but yeah, and then a couple European tours. So yeah, we're gigging pretty frequently at that point.
And the Mental Funeral, when you guys were recording that record, it was like I'll let you explain. It was like a big party, right? You guys, it sounded like you guys had a shitload of people in the studio and stuff, and it was.
Oh yeah, it was like, I think there was like 18 of us there. For some reason, I don't know if we invited all of our friends to show up or they just showed up or whatever, but I don't know how we got a record done with all that stuff going on. It was total insanity. Not how you should make a record, but it worked out.
And Paul Hammy was there. The Hammy from Peaceville was down there too for that record with you
He
guys.
was. I think he was there to kind of like babysit us because of the whole spending half the budget on weed on the first album. So I'm pretty sure he showed up to like make sure we were going to behave. But then next thing you know, he became part of the circus. So he
And
had
was that the first time you recorded drunk actually?
yeah, probably. I think so. I mean, it was the first time where it was more than like a beer or two.
But you got
It was.
but with Autopsy, right? You guys were always like, you guys were always prepared because you guys knew, like, from everything I've ever heard growing up, listening to you guys knew you had a timeline in the studio, and no matter what, you guys were always completely prepared when you went in there.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, despite all the shenanigans and whatnot that we got up to, we would rehearse and take the musical part very seriously. Even if we didn't take ourselves seriously, we took the music seriously. So we would show up well rehearsed, knowing exactly what we're doing, no fooling about when it came to the actual recording part. Every time. From the first demo up till now, we show up knowing exactly what we're doing.
And when you first saw the Mental Funeral artwork, did you first saw that when you were on tour? You guys hadn't seen it before it had come out, and were you a fan of it when you first saw
No,
it?
no, we didn't like it. I don't remember when we saw it. I mean, I'm sure it was when the album came out. I mean, there was no internet. You couldn't like share a file with someone or anything like that. So we had no say so and what it was going to be. And it was, again, it just showed up in the mail, and we're like, here's your cover. And I remember we were not stoked. We're like, what is this fucking green blob thing? Like, what is this? You know? We were not stoked at all. But then, it just grows on you over time, and now it's like I can't imagine it being something else.
Yeah, no, definitely, and it's a killer record. And you guys with the mix, right? You guys didn't mix too much on that. You guys kind of kept a lot of the natural in it.
Yeah, we I think we mostly kept the starting tones, which is not what you're supposed to do. I know Hammy was there, and he I think he was in charge of the mix, but I don't remember him paying too much attention to that. I mean, this is a long time ago, and there was a lot of partying going on. So I just know we walked away going, damn, we kept the starting tones, but they sound good, cool.
It's a great sound. It's a great sound record. I mean, and that. So next, you guys go on, and what? Steve Cutler, he departs the band, and you guys are doing the Fiend for Blood EP, and Steve's on that too, also, right? He's playing fretless on that.
Yeah, he just had this weird idea. He just told us, he's like, yeah, I got a fretless bass. I was thinking about trying it out, seeing what it sounds like with the band, and we're open to nutty ideas. So we're like, yeah, give it a go, see what it sounds like. And it sounded really cool and really unique. And as far as I know, no one had done that in death metal before.
And you guys recruited Josh Barron, right, from Suffocation. He gets in the band. How did that take place?
He somehow got my phone number and called me one day, and we were looking for a bass player. And he was in New York, and he just, I don't remember the conversation, but he was willing to just come out. He came out on a bus on a Greyhound with like his bass and like nothing else, maybe a change of clothes or something like that. Like, just showed up with his bass on his back under the idea that he was going to try out for the band. It was, people did crazy things like that back then.
And it worked for him.
Yeah. So it sounded cool, and we got along, and I I don't remember the conversation, but we are just like, fuck, he's crazy enough to just come out and like jam with us. He might as well be in the band. And so he was in the band. Next thing you know.
You guys, we go on to '92. You guys put out obviously Acts of the Unspeakable, and you guys were listening to some different stuff at that time period. Right? You guys are getting into Zappa and like Universe Zero and stuff like that. And do you think that like bleeded over a little bit into that record?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, I was, I got into Zappa, and when I was like a teenager, like 16. So that was already there, and Resonance and Captain Beefheart and all kinds of strange things. And then discovering Universe Zero was really cool because that was their stuff involved some tempo changes, which I was not used to hearing, that were very impactful, and definitely added some of that into Autopsy because I thought it might work. They just had like really weird tempo changes, like da 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 da, stuff like that. I was like, oh man, if you put that in metal, that could be pretty fucking sick, and I thought it worked out pretty good.
Definitely. And you recorded the drums in like a day and a half on that record?
Probably, I don't remember, but that's pretty typical. Like when we make an album, I'm usually like a day and a half, of drums, never more than that.
And so that's about right, a day and a half. That makes sense. And you could basically, so you guys are doing that, and basically you could do a press tour, right? I think you go. I don't know if you do a press tour in Europe or not, but you're getting a lot of hate from people when you're doing for that record.
Yeah. Peaceville sent me to just me by my lonesome to Europe, along with I think it was Darren from Anathema and Paul from Peaceville, who later ended up in Cradle of Filth. Yeah, it was the three of us. We went to Europe, and I went to like some radio station headquarters, and like I don't remember where all they sent me, but I remember we went to Germany, Holland, Belgium, and the UK, just for the sake of doing interviews on the phone and otherwise. And that was when the Acts of the Unspeakable came out. And yeah, we got a lot of hate, man. A lot of people just were not cool with the lyrics and the album cover, like genuine hate, not just like, I don't like this, but like, you're a bad person. Why are you singing about this and talking about this and doing this. It was a trip, man. I was completely thrown off.
But that always fueled you guys, right? You guys kind of got off on that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah, I love that shit. That just, oh, yeah, we're like, oh, you think that's bad? You ain't seen nothing yet.
Just wait till the next record.
Isn't
Oh
it?
yeah, exactly.
Isn't this death metal?
I know. Hey, I don't
Have
know.
they not heard of Carcass and what they were fucking singing about?
Yeah, I don't know what people, I don't know, man. I mean, it's different times, I guess. Some people weren't used to things like that. I
Guess I
don't
never
know.
heard of Deicide either. I mean,
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, if you want to talk about fucking bad lyrics, I mean, like not bad, like in a bad way, but like terrible for people to listen to. I mean, Jesus Christ. I mean, that's I didn't think that record was that bad. I don't know why. I did hearing this kind of surprises me because I thought Axe was a great record.
Oh, thanks.
I didn't think the cover was bad either. What's wrong with the cover?
Yeah, well, it's the inside, not the front of the cover.
Yeah.
I know, but
seriously, I don't know. It's metal. What do you want? I mean, we're yeah. I was baffled. I was baffled as well. But again, I think things like that are funny when people get upset and offended and like, okay, cool, let's let's hike it up a few more notches,
Especially when back in the 80s and stuff, they'd always sold more records. Like when they put those stickers on the albums, like everybody went and got those records. Like that's the ones you wanted as a kid, the most offensive ones. Or like I mean, I even know like eventually I think they censored the Shit Fun cover that you guys had, like in some places. Like it's just the way it went back then.
Yeah, I mean, if someone wants to hear something, they're going to get it anyways, whether it's got a sticker on it or not.
Yeah, definitely. And another thing about you, which I thought is really, you don't use any scratch tracks, right? No scratch tracks. You don't play to a click. There's no metronome. You pretty much just do your own thing in the studio. You've never used that stuff?
No, never done. No, we just record like we're in the rehearsal room. We're all like looking at each other's dumb faces and playing our stuff. So no, I wouldn't know what it's like to record that way.
And that studio that we were talking about, the what was it, the Starlight Studio, that place got robbed and is done with.
Yeah. We wanted to go back there for, well, maybe I think we wanted to go there for shit fun or something, but I found out that it was in a really sketch part of town, that studio. I did find out that they got robbed at gunpoint. The story goes, someone showed up in a truck or van and said they were with the band on Vogue who had recorded there. And so they got let in and they proceeded to have the recording studio staff lay on the floor at gunpoint, and they, I guess, rolled all the recording gear out of there. And that was the end of Starlight.
Damn. Not cool.
Not a great part of town.
Yeah, and without asking to speak, one more question about that record. Like the cover, that was influenced by, you guys went to what, the torture museums over in Amsterdam?
Yeah, we did go there, but I can't remember. I don't remember the inspiration for it. But it probably had something to do with that. But I remember us telling Kent, sort of what we wanted, and he was really kind of like sketched out by the whole concept. And then he started relating to Bosch, and like, oh, if I make it like, his rationale was, if I kind of like make it like that, it's okay. You know what I mean? And then he just like ran with it, and then he just like totally immersed himself in it, and it came out super cool.
Have you guys ever had any artists that refused to work with you guys because of your content? Like, just like, oh,
No.
it's too much? So
No.
everyone's pretty much gone with it.
Nah.
Because you guys have had some amazing covers, which we'll talk about. Because I mean, especially some of the last couple covers you guys have put out is absolutely just fucking awesome. I mean, some of that artwork, Chris, I know Ben Scouter and stuff like that has just done some killer covers for you guys.
Oh yeah, we love him. Wes is great.
Yeah, but before we get to those covers, let's talk about Shit Fun, because that in 1995 you guys put out Shit Fun. So you guys know pretty much that the band's going to be over with. You guys had, I guess, a lot of material written, So what caused, when you guys decided to break up? Was that the result of the 3-month U.S. tour you guys did?
Yeah, that tour broke us. It was rough, man. It was just poorly organized and poorly promoted, and it was just not. I mean, there was a lot of good things about it too. We had some shows and we had some fun times and definitely some funny stuff happened and stuff like that. But overall, it sucked the fun out of the band. So we got home and we just had a brief discussion and just decided it wasn't really fun anymore, and that was it. But we didn't want to just like disappear, without a trace. So we're like, oh, we got some material built up. Let's make a record and do a final hometown show and go out on a strong note. And yeah, I think it worked out okay.
With Peaceville, they had sold 94. Didn't they sell half of their? They sold half of their company, right? Who did they sell to? Music for Nations, was it?
It was Music for Nations.
Yeah, and I had read something like they weren't really Autopsy fans. Music for Nations.
No,
they were giving you guys shit or something like that.
No, they didn't care about us at all. I all of a sudden I got a new label contact, some guy named Jim, and it was like talking to like a used car salesman or something like that. It just like nothing felt right about it. And next thing you know, I'd try and call and he wouldn't even answer the phone. We definitely got like swept under the rug really quickly. We were all of a sudden, like bottom of the list.
You guys, like I said, you did Shit Fun. You had 21 tracks on that record. You guys recorded that at Razor's Edge, and that's basically, you also started playing with, so Clint Bauer played on that, right? We're going to get to Abscess. Obviously, he was involved with Abscess, and Frank was also on that. I forget, they played on a couple tracks each. Did you already start having the Abscess thoughts in your head? Like, did you knew that you wanted to do something like this? Was this already like something you had already been thinking about when you pretty much knew Autopsy was coming to an end? Did you want to stop? Basically, did you want to stop playing? Like, did you want to break from music, or you just needed a break from the Autopsy situation at that time?
Oh, I've never had a break from music in my life.
That's what I say. You have a lot of releases.
Not even for like 2 seconds. No, by the time we did Shit Fun, we'd already done the first 2 Abscess demos, so it was kind of like a bleed over for a minute there.
With that Shit Fun album cover, where did you get that from? I have to ask because
I can't tell.
Oh, so whoa, it's that okay? That must be a good one then.
I don't want to destroy the myth.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, ever since I first saw that record cover, I was like, I don't know. These thoughts go to your head, right, Ed? Like, where the hell did they get this cover from? Like, and who's this person?
Yeah, I don't know. It's a mystery.
So we're actually going to play an Abscess song before we talk about a little bit of Abscess. This is from 2007. This is the song Poison Messiah from the Raw, Sick, and Filthy Noise 7-inch, actually put out by River Rag Records. And we'll be right back with Chris after this song for the Abscess. This is Poison Messiah. it was Poison Messiah from the Abscess. That was 2007 that came out. And so that band basically started when 94 when Hex broke up and Immortal Fate broke up. Is that kind of when things started rolling together?
Yeah, I mean, Danny and I knew we wanted to do something new, and we had a couple buddies who was Clinton Freeway who were available. We hit them up, and they were both along for the ride.
And was that the same time period you were doing that band called Doomed, right? It's like I think it was a studio project you had going on.
Yeah, I mean, Doom was just something we just did just for the fun of it. It was never like a real band or anything like that. It was just like an excuse to make a little bit of noise.
In the early days of Abscess, what do you like remember about those early times? Were you guys partying? Was it like a big party basically?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Because that was some nasty shit. That was some great.
We were crazy people, man. For the first 2 years of the band, we could never play the same club twice. You know, we got banned and kicked out of everywhere we played.
Yeah, and I was actually, so I put out the song we played, Poison Messiah, we had put out the 7-inch for you guys. So what happened was that we've talked about this on the podcast before. I was going to put out a 7-inch for Chris. You may remember a lot of this. This was probably many years ago now. But I was dealing with this band called Belphegor.
I remember that.
Yeah, I was dealing with this band called Belphegor, and I was running their MySpace page for them. This is how old school. This is how old this is. So the singer Hellmoth, he wants to do a split, and I wanted to put it out. And he's like, listen, I want one of Chris's bands on there. So I set it up. Chris does everything. Everything's all set up. We got the Abscess, Belphegor. Everything's all I'm jumping, and I'm a nobody. I'm just doing this out of my house. I'm just learning as I go. And all of a sudden, I think it was Napalm Records. It's like, hey, Belphegor can't do this.
Oh,
do you remember that, Chris? And I was like, fuck, man. I was like, that was the whole thing. It was going to be Abscess, Belphegor. And
I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was so pissed off. I don't think it was nothing. It wasn't Belphegor's fault. It was the label's fault. And then Chris gave me the Eat My Fuck material.
I think we were desperate to find something to fill out the split.
Yeah, so because I think I had 3 weeks to get it figured out, and so we did the Eat My Fuck. So Eat My Fuck was a side project, and it was all you guys from Abscess, right? But basically the GGL and Mentors thing going on.
Pretty much, yeah. Just again, not a real band. It was just like a fun thing to do, just for the hell of it.
Yeah, we are gonna play a track from Eat My Fuck. We're gonna play it's a Wet Slit and a Bottle of Whiskey off the Wet Slit and a Bottle of Whiskey 2003 release. This came on B-Style Onslaught Productions?
Yeah, a couple labels put it out. I'm blanking out.
We're going to play that track really fast. This is, like I said, Wet Slit and a Bottle of Whiskey, and we'll be right back on the Tampa Morgue after this track.
Never
So that was Wet, Slit, and a Bottle of Whiskey from the Abscess, and we are back here on the Tampa Morgue with Chris. Chris, so that basically 90, and then also 97, you hook up with Killjoy and Dan, and you guys do the band The Ravenous. You guys do what? Was it, you guys did 2 full lengths on the EP?
Yeah, that would have been 2000.
2000. How did you get involved with those guys?
Well, I knew Danny from before, Lilker. So had already been acquainted. Killjoy, I talked to him at when we were at staying at Chuck's house in '86. Chuck had his number, and we just called him one day, as people did before you were considered a psychopath if you just like called someone, or showed up at their house or whatever. It was normal back then.
Now you're going to jail.
Yeah, I know. Like what? But yeah, so I'd already kind of known him, and then Necrophagia reformed, and I must have sent him a letter or email or something. I don't remember what the deal was. Everything is a long time ago now, but I sent him a message somehow, carrier pigeon perhaps. Just said, hey, I see Necrophage is back. That's great, man. That's awesome. And he got back to me, and we just started chatting, and one of us had the idea, I don't remember if it was him or I, was like, hey, we should do a music project someday. And next thing you know, we actually did it.
You guys, yeah. So you said 2000, you guys put out Assembled in Blasphemy. Then the EP was 2002, 3 on a Meat Hook, and 2003 was Blood Delirium. And you mentioned the thing about people calling, didn't? So is it true that like Paul Bailoff called you about being a band with him, the Piranha Band?
Yeah, he got my number somehow. I mean, this was like 1990. He was looking for band members, and he just somehow got my phone number and called me up and asked if I wanted to join his band. And I was stoked that he thought about me at all, but I was doing Autopsy, so I told him, I was like, oh, thanks, man, but I'm doing this Autopsy thing, but good luck. So yeah, that was pretty much that.
That was the time where you can like just look in the phone book and see, like, you just look and everyone's listed in there. It was it's a whole different time period.
Or just like a friend of a friend has a number or something like that. Everyone just like called each other back then, or it would just like go to your house, or it was normal.
And then definitely, so things have changed now, man.
Yeah.
And you guys, like I said, you had the big break. You had a 15-year break from Autopsy, and what? So Maryland Death Fest, they kept on contacting you guys about playing. What was the story with that?
That was it. We did the reissue of Severed Survival with the 2 new songs on it, which we recorded just for that purpose.
That was that horrific Obsession 7-inch.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we weren't like saying we were reformed or anything like that. It was just like to make the reissue extra cool, so we weren't like back in the game or whatever. We just thought it'd be a cool idea. And then that sparked everything. And then next thing you know, Maryland, we already knew the guys from Maryland because Abscess had played there a couple times. So we already had a relationship with them, but they started bugging us to play as Autopsy. And I said, no. So many times, man, I went back and forth. I just kept saying no. And they were unrelenting.
Because you really thought you thought Autopsy was done, right? You didn't think you were ever going to do that again?
Yeah, I had no intention of doing it again, but they wore us down, man. Next thing you know, I told, Eric and Danny, I'm like, these guys are serious and they're not stopping, what should we even consider this? And then we just decided to take the plunge. We're like, all right, well, let's do this show, just this show and nothing else. And then next thing you know, I was like, fuck. And then Party Son in Germany's hitting us up, and Hole in the Sky in Norway. And we started agreeing to everything. And, 15 years have gone by.
And the first release you guys actually did was the Tomb Within, right? Basically, that was the first like real release back together.
Yeah,
like 2010.
Yeah. Well, we didn't want to be like an oldies nostalgia act, just playing our old stuff. We figured if we're going to do this, let's do it right and have something new to show for it, so people can know that we still have new ideas and stuff like that. We're not trying to live off of the past or whatever. So that was very important to us to do new things.
And you guys got Joe Allen in the band, obviously from the Abscess.
Yeah.
And you guys put out Macabre Eternal, which is, first of all, the album cover is just awesome. I mean, beautiful album cover. And the record was, I mean, for a comeback record, I mean, the sound was the thing about Autopsy that I always, as a listener, like you always know what you get with Autopsy. It is always Autopsy, but it never sounds like stale, and it doesn't always sound exactly the same. Ed, you'll probably agree with this too. But it always sounds like Autopsy. It's always like fucked up, brutal, and like just I mean, it just nasty. I mean, it's pretty much just nasty shit. And
We've said that many times on this podcast.
Yeah, we always say that. Like you always know what you're
some
getting.
bands when they write, some bands get, I don't want to say sell out, but they change. You know what I mean? Maybe they grow up. I don't know how you would classify it, but not Autopsy. You're still raunchy and fucking brutal, and that's what makes Autopsy.
But it always sounds fresh, right? It always sounds like it's not like it's always something new to it, but it just sounds like Autopsy.
Oh, I appreciate that, man. Thanks, you guys. Yeah, we just kind of like do what we do. We don't over-examine ourselves or scrutinize what we're doing. It's just like, I guess it's like we just know what Autopsy needs to be, I guess.
And that was the first record you guys worked with Wes, right? That was the first release he did?
Yeah, that was the first one with Wes.
Yeah, that's a beautiful cover. I mean, he's done a bunch of other killer covers for you guys too. And you guys also dealt with the Motorhead artist too, who also did Angel Corpse, Christian, and Sodom. Joe Patango.
Yeah, Joe was great too. Yeah, that was really cool to work with him.
He did the Headless Ritual, right? How did you guys get involved with him?
I think I must have emailed him because we were looking for. Wait, or did I? Or he may have emailed us. I can't remember. But somehow we got in touch with him and agreed to work together on that cover, and it happened. Yeah, so that was cool.
And you guys did that at Fantasy Studios?
Yes, yeah, Fantasy. Yeah. Oh man, I missed that place.
I was going to ask you, how was that place? I've only heard. I've never been there.
Incredible. It was like Disneyland for metal people.
Yeah, it
was amazing. I'm sure we'd still be going there, but they eventually closed. But yeah, it was a really nice place.
We already mentioned the 2013 you're doing the Violation Wound thing, and 2014 you guys put out the Hacksaws and Graves. Again, awesome artwork. Then you guys did Skull Grinder. I mean, pretty much like like we said, it feels like. Do you feel like when you guys do Autopsy, it's just a natural? Like when you guys get together and jam, it's never forced; it just flows together.
Yeah, pretty much. I don't know. We never think about it. We just kind of like get in there and do it. Yeah, we don't do a whole lot of thinking with Autopsy. It's just more doing.
Yeah, so I was gonna say, you guys, because this feels like you guys. That's what it always seems like with you guys. And I've never heard like, even like reading the press through the years, it just seems like you guys just get together and do it, and it's pretty much what comes out. Because do you write most of the lyrics, or do you write all the lyrics in Autopsy?
I've been writing them all lately, but anyone, if they feel like they want to write something, it's we don't designate like you're the lyricist, you're the this and that. Like if someone wants to write some lyrics, we're like, go for it. But I've been doing it myself lately. But that doesn't mean that Eric or Danny or Greg, for that matter, may not do some in the future. We just never know.
You guys, what? So you basically bring songs like when they're complete. Is that how you guys do things? Like each guy brings their tune in there.
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah, we just a lot of times we'll make a recording, a cell phone recording of like the song on guitar and send it to everybody. But we don't like jam and put stuff together in the rehearsal room. Everything's pre-thought out. You just bring in your song and be like, here's my song, let's learn it.
And then you guys do what? So basically 2021, Joe leaves the band. You guys are joined by Greg, right? Which you guys knew Greg, he was kind of like, you guys all jammed in the same rehearsal spaces and stuff. And you guys recorded with him, didn't you? You guys did the Puncturing the Grotesque EP with him?
Yeah, we've known Greg for some years because in our rehearsal building, he's got a room right across the hall from us. Like our doors face each other. So we would just see him in the hall like before or after practice when everyone's like, getting out of the sweat box, so we just like see him around and stuff like that. And Greg was always cool and friendly and, just be like, hey, what's up, Greg? Stuff like that. And then, he recorded, he's also recording engineer by trade. You know, he's got his own recording studio, Earhammer, and whatchamacallit. Yeah, he recorded the Puncturing the Grotesque Autopsy record, and Violation Rune recorded with him a couple times. So we knew Greg well enough to know that it would be a good decision to have him join the band.
So the natural fit, pretty much.
Oh yeah, for sure. It was a good move.
And you guys haven't toured since. Have you guys done an actual tour since what, '93 was the last time you guys really toured?
Yeah, in terms of being in a bus, you know, for weeks on end or something. Yeah, that was the last time and the last time.
I was gonna say because I think I talked to you maybe even years ago, and you pretty much told me the same thing. It's like you guys are pretty much you guys do festivals spot on, but no tours.
Yeah, or like club shows too, not just festivals, just one-offs, occasionally a two-off, but we try not to even do that anymore. You know, just kind of like select things here and there, but like we're not like road people. You know, we actually have home lives that we enjoy, you know.
Yeah, and then so we've got 2023. Actually, going to play a song off the new record because we're going to get to the new one that you guys just released. Well, last year actually, which is Ashes, Organs, Blood, and Crips, which came out on Peaceville. We're actually going to play the song "Toxic Death Fuck" off of that. And this came out October 27th, 2003. This is Autopsy with "Toxic Death Fuck," and we'll be back with Chris on the Tampa Morgue right after this track. That was Toxic Death Fuck from Autopsy off the Ashes, Organs, Blood, and Crips record. Yeah, man. So, Chris, you know, you guys have that out now. And you guys, so when this record came out, again, another killer album cover.
I remember hearing this, at the gym, and I came home and called you.
Next day.
Yeah. I called you. I was like, holy shit. Because what I do is I always look in Spotify and see what new came out. Because sometimes you can't keep up with everything online. Even online now, there's too much shit. And I remember it had you guys as that was the newest thing that came out Friday or whatever day it came out. And I remember, oh, fuck yeah. We can work out to this because I work out at 5 a.m. and I hit that. And holy shit. I remember either you called me later on that morning, Tony, but I remember you had already known it came out, and I was like, dude, Jesus Christ, man, it's about time something fucking good came out, because nothing was coming out. I mean, it's either blistering fast math metal or just cheeseball shit. And when you guys put out a record, you know what you're getting, and it was fucking awesome. And the
Oh,
artwork was great too. I was like,
Yes.
Jesus Christ, thank God.
I think
uh,
the last 5 or 6 records, man, the artwork has just been like just fucking awesome.
oh, Wes is great. We love Wes.
Yeah, it's been great, man. And and you guys actually went into it. That was your first time going into Sharkbite Studios?
It was, yeah. We decided to be crazy and try something new, just to see what it would be like. To shake up the formula. And yeah, it was cool, man. We had a really good time. It was super cool.
And you guys working on. So I know you guys, with Autopsy, when you guys are running, sometimes you get an album a year from y'all. Do you guys have have you guys already started working on material for the next record?
No, we're trying not to be in a super hurry this time. We the last two records in a row we booked studio time before we even had all the material written, which is kind of stressful because then you're just looking at the calendar going, oh man, and then you have to write. Like, I mean, we can write fast and all that. That's cool, but we're gonna not do that on the next one. It was really stressful the last two in a row. So we are gonna do a new one, maybe around like springtime next year or something like that. I don't know. We're not in a hurry to like set studio dates, but we're definitely gonna do one. Just we're not gonna give ourselves ulcers in the process.
I think
How difficult? Because I've always wanted to know this, because I play bass and
Oh,
guitar
I
and
know.
sing, and I just try to figure out, how do you do that with drums? Like, I know we know Mike Browning here, so I've seen what he does, because
King from Deceased, guys
yeah,
like
Yeah.
I mean,
that.
but it's just like, when I watch you, I'm just like, how do you, like, the timing and the lyrics are just, it's just crazy how you're able to sing and play those beats.
It was born of necessity, because we couldn't find anyone else to do vocals, so I just kind of like took it on. I don't know. It's probably best I don't think about it. I don't want to psych myself out or
Yeah, it
something
probably
like that.
makes sense.
And
But
Chris, you wanted a singer for all. At first you didn't want to be a singer, right? It wasn't
no,
your
no,
intention.
we wanted to have a vocalist, but we couldn't find anybody. So Eric and I were just decided we would be the vocalists, and he lost interest pretty pretty quickly. He just wanted to play guitar, which I absolutely totally get it. So I just sort of ended up doing it, but um, it's intense. I'll say that. I wouldn't recommend it to anybody.
Well,
you
I'm thinking
know?
about because I sing too, and
Yeah, I know.
I'm thinking playing the drums is taxing enough, and then trying to be able to have enough air to push out vocals.
That's what the slow parts are
Just
for.
yeah, I guess so.
I breathe on the slow parts, and then I can keep going.
Makes total sense.
I'm not even kidding, because yeah, once the pace picks up, there's no time for anything. You just like are just going.
What's your guys' average? So like you guys have some stuff coming up too. I know you guys are playing Obscene Extreme coming up and stuff.
Yeah,
Um,
that's 2 weeks from tomorrow. We leave for that, and then yeah, we're doing a couple other things. We're doing the Decibel magazine 20th anniversary in Philly. We're playing in LA with Repulsion in
oh, nice.
September. That'll be sick. What else? We got something else that hasn't been announced yet coming up. A little handful of things as we do. We don't do like tons and tons of stuff. Just cool little nuggets here and there.
And do you think you'll ever bring back like the Abscess or anything like that, or is that?
Nah, it's done. It was a fun ride while it lasted, but if we tried to be that band again, we'd probably die.
And you guys, and also you're doing Painted Doll, right, with Dave Hill.
Yeah, that's a lot of fun too. That's a whole nother thing.
And you have Beer Snake. You got a lot of. I mean, there's a lot of stuff, and I also even like the stuff you've appeared on. Like you've appeared on like Bloodbath Records, doing guest spots, Cathedral, Bonesaw. You've done a lot of like guest spots and stuff. Nuclear Death, right? You've also done stuff for. Witch Taint, and there was a whole list of bands you've done stuff for.
Yeah, that's Dave's black metal band. Yeah.
Well,
I gotta say, it was pretty cool to see you get up on stage with the dudes from Left to Die and do those couple death tunes.
Was that 2 years ago? 3 years ago?
That was a lot of fun. Yeah, that was last year, I think. Fuck.
Yeah,
it might have been
I
last
think it
December
was.
or whatever. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was super fun. I had a blast.
Chris,
Yeah,
what do
Rick-
you think about that? Well, go ahead, Ed.
No, Rick messaged me and said, there's some video coming out. You want to watch it? Because he kept saying that he was going to get you to do it. And a lot of people were like, Chris won't play those tunes no more. He's done with that shit. And I was like, why? I mean, why? I mean, that doesn't make any sense. He doesn't want to be in the band, but I mean, why not jump up on stage and do a couple tunes? And of course, you did. And it was killer.
It was a blast, man. I loved it. It was so much fun.
And that's what I was going to ask you, Chris. How do you feel about not with those? There's some good ones, obviously, but how do you feel about like all the bands? Like I guess they're like super groups, right? A lot of bands are coming back. A lot of them only have one guy left in them, which I thought was so. Satan came back to the States, which was fucking awesome because Satan was the complete Courtney Act lineup. Which I mean,
they're one of my all-time favorites. I love that band.
They were in the States last year. I was over here in Europe, so I was really pissed because I missed it. But I mean, you're talking about the whole, from top to bottom, the whole lineup from Court. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, but these days, you get a lot of like the one guy in the band and stuff like that, or the bands that, I guess I don't know if they're, what do they call that? Like tribute bands, or I don't know what you call them, like the breakoffs of all these old famous bands. Like, how do you feel about that? Does it bug you at all? Like, or do you kind of don't really care either way? I'm trying to think of how to ask it. I don't know if I'm saying it right, but there's a lot of bands coming out now. Like you get one guy in there and everybody else is new. Like,
yeah, no, I mean, we played with a bunch of bands like that at Hell's Heroes,
Yeah.
But I mean, if it's good, it's good. It doesn't bother me, if they're carrying on the music and it sounds cool and the intentions are good and all that stuff, then cool. And if it sucks, then don't listen to it. Don't watch it. Simple as that. But I mean, it doesn't hurt anything by being out there. I mean, it's up to the listeners and the viewers to see if they're interested or not.
Do you find it hard to get into new bands? Like sometimes I get frustrated sometimes because I try to get into so many new bands and I feel like I'll always go put in the old records at the end of the day instead of like the newer stuff. Do you find a lot of new bands you're into, or do you find you've heard so much that it's kind of hard to grip onto new acts?
I'm always up for hearing something new. I mean, I like my old records, but I like new records too. And bands I like, I'll buy every release every time it comes out, like when it comes out, depending on who you're talking about. If like I find out like Judas Priest is putting out a new album, I'm buying that shit the day it comes out. But
New Priest was killer. I don't know what you thought about the New Priest, but
it's so good. It's
awesome.
It's amazing. Yeah. No, I love listening to new stuff. Whether it's metal or rock or punk or whatever. As long as it sounds good, I'm all over it.
And we talked about you doing the guest spots and stuff. If there was a band you can choose, like obviously whatever band, what would be a band you would choose to do something on an album? That's maybe a band that's out today, or maybe not even a band today, whatever.
I think I would have been a good guest vocalist in the Bay City Rollers.
The Bay City Rollers.
They never asked me though, so that's a bummer.
The Bay City, that's a
SATUR.
Mm-hmm.
I love the Bay City Rollers, man. They're great.
Yeah, over here it's ABBA. ABBA's huge over here, and where I'm at over in Lithuania, it's like
They never invited me either, so fuck them.
Fuck that, yeah. But Chris, so yeah, what else is good? So we're gonna let you go here in a few minutes. We kept you, and I'm just glad you came on, man. I have to be honest. I was saying at the beginning of the show, I felt bad about asking you, dude. I was telling Ed, I said,
why?
Because I've known you for a while, and I felt like, of course, he's probably gonna say yes. So I'm like, and I'm texting you. I'm like, but I waited. I asked Ed. I kept on saying like until we got to like 30 episodes deep. I'm like, I gotta ask Chris, man. I'm like,
dude, yeah, you should. Yeah, don't ever.
I just felt like, I'm like, I know you're probably gonna say yes, but I'm like, what if he doesn't? You feel like you're taking advantage of someone. If you actually know somebody, you're doing that to them. So I do appreciate you coming on.
No, dude, I'm stoked, man. This is cool.
You were supposed to be the big 5-0.
Yeah, we had you as the 50th episode, but our schedules got fucked up.
But that didn't work out.
Oh, I'm happy to be invited to the party, regardless.
No, man. And so, Chris, anybody who wants to, I know you're not a big social media guy. So, anybody who could, where can they find anything Autopsy? Because I know you guys got a bunch of merch up. You always guys have some killer T-shirts and stuff always. So, where can they find anything Autopsy related?
I mean, besides like records, those are all through Peaceville and hopefully in a record store near you, or you know, online or whatever. Shirts, we have merch. We have a big cartel page where we sell our merch. Um, yeah, but that's pretty much it. But like social media and all that, and I actually don't do that. So this is how I talk to people like we're doing right now.
Very smart.
Yeah, you're really smart.
Just never got around to it, I guess.
Nah, man. And Chris, man, like I said, we totally appreciate you coming on and hanging out with us. It's you've always been supportive. We've always talked about it, me and Ed. Every time I see an Autopsy picture, I always see Chris has the leather jacket with the genericized pin up in the corner up the thing.
Oh,
Man.
yeah.
We always
Flesh
notice
Reaper
that shit,
shirt.
dude. Or the Flesh
Oh,
Reaper
nice.
shirts.
Oh,
Us
nice.
little guys notice that, man.
Oh, I'm a little guy too. Yeah, no, I like supporting bands and people that I enjoy. Simple as that.
You've always been killer, dude. And Ed, anything else you want? I mean, I think I took so much of Chris's time.
No
man.
pressure.
Like I said, when after MDF, I knew it was the music was the key, because I mean, it doesn't get any better than that in my book.
All right, yeah, you were there.
I lived it. Yeah, that, like I said, if you would have told me that happened, I would have told you no way, because obviously pictures or it didn't happen, and obviously there were more than pictures, but yeah,
Like,
no, that was being there in the live and catching it. Because at first I was side stage watching you guys, which was killer, because it's a different experience when you get to watch it not from the crowd. But then when I looped around, that's when the real circus started, and yeah, that was fun.
life is full of beautiful surprises.
Exactly.
It sure was that day.
And Chris,
And
one more question for we go ahead, Ed.
Think about it. If you guys had headlined, it might not have happened. So
I know.
it was meant to be.
Explaining that.
That's right. Well, and Chris, is that before we let you go, I got to ask you, is that the crazy? I mean, we never usually ask this question because everyone's always like, oh, what's the craziest thing you ever? Was that one of the craziest shit you've ever seen at one of your shows before? Like I said, we usually never ask this question, but I mean, it's pretty, it's pretty crazy, I guess you'd say.
We didn't see it though until after the fact.
That's right.
Yeah, because we were just up there trying not to make too many mistakes, which I'm sure we did plenty of anyways. But so we didn't see it until later. So I don't know if that counts, but I mean, if that does count, that's probably up there.
There you go. Well, Chris, man, again, we thank you, dude. We're gonna say goodbye to you when we hang up here, but yeah, man, Ed. So basically, anybody who wants to hear us can find us where?
Any streaming sites, Spotify, Apple, all of them. Thetampamorgue at gmail.com if you want to send us messages or whatever, hate. We like hate too. Facebook, we do have social media, unfortunately. And definitely Instagram, because that's actually our Facebook's been kind of getting a little more heat lately. So
I hate Facebook.
Yeah. I saw a couple dudes like from More to Scold were like, man, everything I post, nothing fucking gets out there. None of our people see it. And I'm like, that's how they control social media. That's why it sucks. So yeah, Instagram, that's the easiest one for us, especially, we'll do some lives, but yeah, we're on all the streaming sites and YouTube too. We put this on YouTube. So definitely killer.
Yeah. And we got what we have, next week we got Gene from Angel Corpse coming on, a Perdition Temple, and then we got Bloody Mess on June 27th coming up.
All right.
Yeah, maybe. Man. So maybe if he shows up this time.
You're lucky, Bloody. You're lucky, Bloody. I want to tear you one right now.
I love Bloody. So.
I'm just kidding.
But Chris, man, again, dude, thank you so much. Anything else you want to say, or?
No, just thanks a lot for carving out time out of your day and talking to me.
Same, man. We appreciate you. We'll say goodbye to you when we hang up here. For everybody else, you can contact us at thetampamorgue at gmail.com. Like Ed said, you can find us on all the streaming platforms. And yeah, Chris, thanks again. Everybody else, have a good weekend. And thanks for listening to the Tampa Morgue.
See ya.